Blog Talk Radio.
That's a thing. Unfortunately, I still have a song from the movie we're reviewing here stuck in my head, so Hooray for Hollywood has failed yet again. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Damn You Hollywood. I'm Robert Winfrey. Thanks for being here. Tonight, Mark and I will be reviewing the latest Disney hit, and it's already a hit, folks. Moana, starring in her first major role, hang on. My mouth is not used to making the sounds required in the same order to pronounce this young lady's first name. Auliʻi Cravalho, I could swear there's supposed to be an accent in there that I'm missing, and former professional wrestler, current box office savior, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Before we really begin tonight, I need to apologize for our last show. Mark and I reviewed Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and for reasons that I cannot fully understand or describe, in large part because I don't know all of them, I was, the internet term I believe is salty, which I referenced. I was neither in the best of moods nor in the, nor expressing and carrying myself in a way that I prefer to. That was, not my best work. It was not representative of how I like to conduct myself on this show and in real life, and just really briefly wanted to apologize to Mark and to everyone who listened for essentially me on that last show. It was not something I'm ever going to put on a resume or be proud of in particular, so I'm sorry to everyone for that. However, I don't think that will be an issue this evening. I certainly hope not, at any rate. We're talking about a movie that I actually have a firm opinion about, so I'm not left to snark to fill time. And I can't fully explain it, so hopefully tonight's better. That's where we're going to move on from there. So here with me, as always, to talk about how exploding things are great and how I take all this movie stuff too seriously, to be the voice of the average moviegoer, Mark Radulich. How you doing, Mark?
Oh, I'm just ducky tonight. Someone give you shit about the last show?
No, I just felt bad about it.
Okay. It did seem like you were being unnecessary reason, but sometimes that's coming from a pure place of dissatisfaction with something, or you're just in a poopy mood. So I really wasn't sure what it was.
Oh, a little from column A, a little from column B, if I could quote Grandpa Simpson.
This should be an interesting show because it sort of defies convention, as does the movie. Normally, if we like a movie a lot and we don't have a whole lot to say about it, we end up having to talk about other things because there's not much to say. It's like, oh, it's good. Plugs, that sort of thing. But like I said, much like a movie, this is one of those weird cases where I really like the movie. I have almost nothing but positive things to say about it. I just rated it on Rotten Tomatoes, I think like 4.5 stars or something like that. But I have a lot to say about it. There are elements about this movie that are. I also need to spend minutes talking about the content that erupted out of this movie. I'll just tell you what it is. We can readdress it when we're done talking about the movie. It came out of the fact very naturally, and I didn't know this actually. That I was of it. All my family. So I was my wife and my 2 kids, and everyone had a good time. The thing is almost 2 hours long, which is my son can tolerate. He did good up until about the 3rd act, and it was kind of like, look, Joe, look, that's happening. Isn't that interesting? And that, I mean, not the theater or anything, but he did reach his sort of limits and have to go sit on my wife's lap. But he, my daughter was completely in to the point where if the character, so especially Moana, was doing something on screen, she would actually do like hand motions and imitate what was happening. I'm in the theater doing that, but it was very cute to watch. In any case, so we're walking out of the theater and we're on our way to go get our Christmas tree from the Christmas tree farm, and they joked me seriously. I jokingly said, "Hey, for Halloween next year, I think it'd be really fun if you and Lily, you and Joe dressed up as for Halloween." And they were like, "Yeah." Now my son's really into it. He's like, "I want to be Maui," and he's seeing the toy in the store before the movie, he attracted, shall we say, to the Maui character. Big, strong, long-haired guy with a giant hook.
What's not to like?
Exactly. So, covered in tattoos. So, he's into it. She's into it. My wife turns to me and she says, "You do know what happened about that?" I'm like, "About what?" "A Maui costume, but it got pulled from the stores, like almost immediately." Huh? And of course I jump onto Google and I do some research, and it turns out that cultural appropriation is the problem. You see, I don't want to get into this right now. I'm just laying out what the controversy was. We will round back to this, and I will give an opinion, as should you at that time, sir. For now, let's just lay out what this was. So, Maui, as we'll talk about, is a demigod who is covered in tattoos and wears a grass skirt. The costume is a bodysuit with a grass skirt, and the body tone, the tone of the fabric, is the same as the skin tone of the character.
And they gave you a wig too, right? Because he's got the weird hair.
Probably. I don't think the wig bothered anybody, so I didn't notice whether or not it was there. So you have a tan bodysuit, tattoos all over it, grass skirt. All right, now you look like Maui. Well, apparently people got pissed and said that brown is not a costume. Brown skin is not a costume. Merely equated it to black and said that it was cultural appropriation to try to dress like this character. So, needless to say, the costume's not available for purchase anymore. Disney pulled it. You ain't in any trouble, see? And now my poor son, first world problems here, can't be Maui for Halloween. I came up with an alternative solution. I was going to, say, well, we don't want to offend brown folk. So what we'll do is we'll make you sort of, white Anglo-Saxon Maui. And what I'll do is I'll give him, jorts, jean shorts, maybe some camouflage cargo shorts. We'll put him in combat boots. I'll cover him in tribal tattoos and give him a pink mohawk. And he can be Caucasian Maui. That way no one gets offended. What do you think about that idea?
I think that's a terrible, terrible, terrible idea.
Which part? The mohawk? Because I'm generally not into giving my children mohawks. Very much against it, as a matter of fact.
The mohawk is okay.
Mohawk.
But hang on, the mohawk's fine. It's just hair. Hair grows back. For some of us in less places than others, but it does grow back.
I see. Okay.
I don't think it's the wisest idea to take your small son, dress him like white trash, and cover him in tattoos. Because no one's actually going to watch and look at the tattoos. They're going to assume he's a skinhead.
But I've given him a mohawk.
People are... No, it won't matter. People are stupid.
Okay. So, Caucasian Maui, bad idea.
Yeah, it's not that there's anything inherently wrong with wanting to dress your kid up as a demigod of the Caucasian variety. But you should find some from the more common mythology.
I don't know. It's a whole year away, and there's more. Excuse me.
Look, you could give his hair ringlets, give him some armor, and pretend he's Hercules.
He does like that movie. We can give him, a gold belt and a tunic. All right. We have a whole year to figure this out.
Only, however, if you explain to him very patiently the difference between Hercules and Heracles.
After what we went through this year with his costume, where he dressed up as Chase from Paw Patrol, and he kept throwing, and he hadn't napped, and he was kept throwing his hat on the ground, hoping he gets into Doctor Strange. And it was where, the blue outfit, hat.
He can throw the cape of levitation around.
I'm kind of hoping. He does like a towel around his neck and tell people that he's super. So I'm kind of I think my goal for 2017 is to push him into becoming a fan of Doctor Strange. That's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to write this down in my journal of goals. Make my son a fan of Doctor Strange so his costume is less annoying. All right.
Good goals. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into the plot of this thing here. Like Mark said, this is a weird movie in the sense that in some ways it very much follows the Disney princess movie setup, the archetype. In several others, it breaks it pretty substantially. So the plot in and of itself is not going to do the movie justice. That's why we have the portion afterwards where we talk about what we like about the movie. In this case, we are introduced first to the legend of Maui, mighty demigod who stole the heart from the island goddess who gives life to all things. His motivations, this is one of my few pseudo-gripes with this movie. I actually wanted more Maui. And if they're able to do a live-action adaptation in the next 3 to 4 years where The Rock can still be Maui, I hope they do that. And I have very specific cuts they could have made to give us time for that. So bear with me. When we get to that, I'll bring it up. But anyway, he steals the heart from this goddess, and things go badly. He and his magical fishhook, which is the source of his power, are batted out of the sky by a lava demon. He is stranded on an island. Darkness now spreads because if there's not life, there's darkness. This whole story is told to baby Moana, who is entirely too adorable to be a believable baby. Just say it like that. Baby Moana is subsequently chosen by the ocean to be the one to carry the heart back to where it belongs and restore peace and harmony She can't do this as a baby, understandably. She grows up as the daughter of the chieftain on this island. She is going to take his place at some point in the near future. And we get a nice little musical montage of her growing up on the island. Some of her, conflicts. She is constantly drawn to leave the island, to leave the nest, so to speak. And the father, no one leaves the island. I imagine he saw one too many episodes of Lost. Just, no, nobody leaves the island. Bad jokes, I know. Terrible joke.
Let's tell him why he really doesn't want people to leave the island.
Well, it turns out, and Moana's mother explains this to her, that when he was a precocious lad, this chief actually did go out past the reef, which is off the coast of the island, with a friend of his. They were not adequately prepared for actual open ocean. Boat crashed, capsized, friend drowns, father scarred. Makes sense. I'm glad the father's desire to keep the daughter safe actually makes sense in this rather than simple overprotective parent syndrome. Actually, hey, here's why. Much appreciated. Anyway, the spreading darkness eventually does find this island. Fish leave. Coconuts start rotting. Very soon it's going to become uninhabitable. And Moana leaves to restore balance to the world because she's the only one who can. In order to do this, she has to find Maui, whom she locates. He sings an obnoxiously catchy song. Seriously, You're Welcome is still in my head to varying degrees, and it's annoying. But he tries to steal her boat because all he wants is his magic fish hook back so he can return to, being Maui. Eventually, he and Moana make a deal to fulfill her purpose because during the course of that, they're going to need his fish hook anyway. Then he will set right what he set wrong by stealing the heart. They encounter obstacles, a bunch of pygmies that are basically coconuts, a giant shiny crab that just so much no. I have nothing against crustaceans, but that whole sequence, just so long. And that song, it's not a good song. Anyway, they eventually do get Maui's fish hook back, but his mojo's a little bit off. Personal introspection fixes this. They attempt to take the heart back to the island where it's supposed to be, but giant lava monster stops them again. This time it nearly breaks Maui's fish hook, so he decides, nuts to this. My power comes from the fish hook, and if it breaks, I am just screwed. He flies off, which of course telegraphs the heroic return. Moana finds her inner courage again, and inspired by the spirit of her grandmother. She makes another run for the island. Maui shows up at the crucial moment, actually does break his fish hook, saving her. She comes to the realization that, no, there's not actually an island here. When he stole the heart from this goddess, she became giant lava monster. Heart is returned. Goddess restores life in the natural order of things, gives Maui a new fish hook, and Moana returns to remind her people that they used to be seafarers and voyagers rather than, homebodies on the island. And balance is restored. Moana leads elements of her people out to discover new and exciting islands, while Maui returns to being exciting demigod. And there is the dumbest rooster ever tagging along for the totality of this.
Yes, the rooster named Psychgag. All right, look, the first thing that needs to be said about this...
That's true, his name is actually Hey Hey. I mean, that is kind of just a side gag.
We need to talk about princess conventions in Disney movies and how Moana really not only defies the princess convention, but in a lot of ways the hero conventions as well. They made her a very interesting and three-dimensional character. for one, right off the bat, there's no love story in this. There's no prince.
I was
no one
so happy. I almost cried when I got to the end and realized, yes, no love story. Finally.
Yeah. No, there's not even a Prince Valium. You know, there's not even someone who she's betrothed to that she detests. No, nothing. That's a Spaceballs joke, everybody. This is nothing. She's and this leads into another convention. It's a truly independent female character with her own sets of beliefs and desires, none of which defined by a relationship with somebody else, at least not in a romantic way. I mean, we can talk about parents and Maui and whatnot, but ultimately what we have is this person who has other stuff going on. There's in Frozen, isn't driven by a desire to be romanced. Because this is an ongoing issue with a lot of the princesses in Disney movies. Even Entangled, as much as we all like Rapunzel, what are the driving factors of that movie is her falling in love with Flynn over time and her sort of rehabilitating him as it were. But that's a whole other story there. In any case, like I said, Frozen is just dirty with, romance and betrayal. Not in this movie. None. And, the necessity of Hollywood to shoehorn love stories where they don't belong. And
so much of my hate. Damn you, Hollywood.
And the movie was devoid of all of that. Which I don't know if that irked anybody else who was looking for that sort of thing, but it was really refreshing to see a movie that had none of it. What was also really interesting about this movie and really fun for me was that Moana, the character, was not a reluctant leader. She was not a reluctant princess or queen. She pretty willingly accepted the role. She has this sort of gaze to the sea, this wanderlust inside of her, but she manages to understand in the movie that might be a thing internally as a greater purpose, and that is to be the chieftain to this tribe. And there's no scene of her looking bored or frustrated like that. She accepts the whole really with gusto. There are multiple scenes or interactions she has with the villagers where they're coming to her for leadership. It is exactly that sort of thing that drives her to leave the island, because it's in screenwriting class they would talk about why is today different than any other day, and what made today different in Moana, the fact the island was dying. The dark, no fish to be had. The coconuts were rotting. Problems were solvable in the short term. What she recognizes is that in the long term, if they don't do something drastic, if they don't do something, they're all going to die. It's going to be the end of her civilization. So there's no, I've killed my father and I have to go on to gay animals. There's none of that. There's no I am running from my responsibilities. She is trying a problem by finding Maui and making him give the heart back, and thus saving the island from destruction. I don't know how many iterations of this movie in the script writing process this went through to get to that point, but bravo. Bully for you, Hollywood. That's what I the Maui character is played by The Rock. Perfect. In the sense that he was there from a reluctant Obi-Wan Kenobi to her Luke Skywalker. It's by necessity that he has anything to do with this girl. The scenes of him throwing her off the boat repeatedly were great.
Even after they finally shake and he's seemingly come to terms with it, he still throws her off the boat. And when the ocean puts her back, he goes, "That was worth a try."
Right. Like, he's a scumbag, basically. And he's doing this out of necessity. He has desires he met, and he doesn't see another way. It's that moment. I would say, well, what's the character like? I would say it's a Polynesian Han Solo. And he only comes back in fear. The enemy was too great. There was too much risk. And, deep in his heart, he couldn't do it. And he comes back in the ta-da nick of it. It's a great character, and not one you see in these Disney films. To reiterate, he's girl, in the romantic sense. Respect her as far as it goes. And even when she says to him, "We could use a guy like you on the island," and I'm like, "Oh no, please don't force a love story where there wasn't one the entire movie." He goes, "Nope," turns into an eagle and takes off, or a hawk, or whatever the winged animal was, turned into a bird. And it was great. He tells her, "Look, they've got somebody who can teach him how to go to the sea." So all of that was villain in this movie, which was interesting. This was very much a character study and a hero's arc adventure, but entirely driven by the relationship between Moana and Maui and their adventures. There's no villain pushing the action, which was interesting for Disney, because unlike Marvel, their villains tend to be really good.
It's almost like you and I did a series of podcasts on those.
Their villains tend to be stronger than their heroes in a lot of ways. What's the most interesting part of Snow White? The evil queen. What's the interesting part of Sleeping Beauty? Maleficent. Even the Lion King, going way far into the Renaissance period of Disney films. Scar is the most interesting character in the Lion King.
Darn right.
What's his face? What's the character's name? The lead. The
Which
lead
one?
lion.
Oh, Simba.
The star of the goddamn thing.
Simba.
Not Mustafa. Simba, yeah. He's much more interesting than Simba. What's the most back at Notre Dame? The goddamn villain, that's who. I don't remember anybody else in that movie. So, and it just goes on like that. This was the first movie where they said, okay, heroes. And the villain was basically kind of a final boss, and that they went against convention. Problem is that she's not really evil. She's been corrupted. Put the heart back, the thing comes back to normal, becomes an island again, finds all of its grace and beauty, it remembers. Like, for a Disney movie, especially one featuring a princess. So, things about them. I'm going to take a breath here and let Robert sort of pipe in. But I do want to talk about half of this movie, but I'll save that for all the good stuff. So you want to jump in here or points or anything to what I've already said?
Well, I agree with you. I actually got a kick out of her at a few different points saying, "No, I'm not a princess." To which Maui gives the appropriate response: "You wear a dress, you have an animal sidekick, you're a princess."
Yeah, there was a lot of tongue-in-cheek sort of fun at the conventions itself within the movie. It was very aware that it was a princess movie, just in the meta sense.
Yeah, but thankfully they didn't go stupid with it, which they easily could have. I agree with you about defying the princess conventions, at least reimagining them very successfully in this instance. You're also right about Maui as a character in Disney movies. You don't get the kind of the heroic scoundrel.
Right.
That is not a character type that Disney delves into frequently. And it works very well here, I think, in no small part because of what The Rock brings to it from a voice perspective. The same way that Auliʻi Cravalho brings a lot of the emotion for the character through her voice, The Rock does an excellent job going up and down the ladder with Maui. He starts out as a bit of a con man, a little bit pompous. Has his humbling moments, has his moment when he gets his power back, and finally his heroic, his low point, and then the heroic return. He does all of that very well.
Handled his motivation. I mean, that whole introduction and his explanation for things. He's not evil. It's out of evil. His explanation. This is almost kind of villain. The ones that do things because they believe they are the right thing to do.
Yeah, I really do wish we'd gotten a little bit more of Maui in this movie. In two ways specifically. One, when he finally talks about his origin, how he came to be, and why he was doing what he was doing. I wanted a little more of that. I wanted him to actually dovetail that into the stealing of the heart. I wanted to touch back on that. That story we started with, kind of differentiating the myth that was told, as a story by the grandmother from what he did, why he did it. Because he talks about how he does everything else.
You have the external explanation, his rationale behind it, which is, I was giving to you humans, you ungrateful bastards, you. I gave you all of these things. I gave you the heart of the island so that you could have you. And then you find out that he's doing all of this because he has a giant inferior because his parents threw him away.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to see, because he talks about, I did all these things for mortals, in large part because he was, again, abandoned as an infant and rescued by the gods. And then but he says something weird, and I wanted it clarified mostly. He said, no matter what I did, it was never enough. And
that was a psychological thing.
Well, no, hang on. Here's why I wanted to touch on that, because some of it is him. He can never give enough to fill the void from the abandonment. I also kind of wanted people, a flashback scene almost, or, more illustrate his tattoos to come to life again, and talk about how he'd do something great for mortals, for humanity. You need more islands. Okay, bam, islands. We need food. We need a sustainable food source. Here, coconuts. I've got you guys. And I wanted to see a little bit of them maybe just, when he says it's never enough, I want that to be a bit of a two-way street. I want that to be, him not feeling fulfilled. And I want a little bit of, people kind of sucking, because they do. And that to have kind of spurred a little bit of his...
I agree. I was going to say, I was seeing him deciding the tape seemed like it was a long. What were they? The number of things that he for him trials.
Okay.
Long line of things, sort of. Didn't seem to be reason to doing it other than thing to do. was another notch on the belt. Now he does appreciate it, but I would have towards the heart action to loving him, giving him praise. Kind of I would have liked to have seen, sort of playing on what you said, sort of I did this for you. Hey, that's great. I did this for you. Oh, good. Well, what have you done for me lately? And then him going, okay, well, you want the best, huh? You the best. And then he goes and takes.
Fine, I will bring you the power to create life. And hey, it goes badly. I mean, like that kind of thing always does.
Right,
honestly, the other thing I wanted from Maui, very specifically, because as soon as he takes off, you know he's coming back. I mean, that's the trope. I really wanted a scene.
And then he blows up the desk.
Yeah, I know. Instead of just him showing back up at the last minute, which is what they all do, I really did kind of want a scene where he has it out with like his tattoos over going back and helping her.
Or at least an acknowledgement of it. Sort of, the tattoo doing something and him go, like, fine, you win. That sort of thing. As I just piggybacking on that, defiance of convention, and it is not Maui who's the evil princess, and she doesn't even feed it so much as she figures it out. She's like, oh, wait a minute, you're the island, aren't you? You need your heart back. Scene, but I mean, she has to rank up there with one of the smartest princesses in the in the lot. It was nice to see something that didn't end in like you had enough fight interesting, but in the end it was her brains that figured things out, not her, not just a random Michael Bay type action scene. This isn't Prince Philip slaying Maleficent the dragon, realizes what's happening and corrects the problem. In defiance of all conventions, it's a nice way to end the movie. Anything else?
Let me think. The animation for this is beautiful.
Isn't it though? It made the good
you went a bit further than I did with the praise as far as what it looks like. I don't think this is quite photorealism in the traditional sense. However, it is all internally consistent. It is detail-oriented, and it is absolutely gorgeous to look at.
I'll give you this. I may have been swept away by the choice of location. The story takes place on like a prairie farm. About the photorealism in The Good Dinosaur, how it looked real. The grass seemed to individually move with the wind, but the dinosaurs looked a little cartoony. But they were talking dinosaurs. Whereas this, people. Now they were animated, but at least you had furrowed brows, you had individually moving hair, nothing felt stock or Flintstone-y, but they were set against a backdrop of pure beauty. That water, if you've ever actually been to the Caribbean or been to places where the water isn't completely fucked up, and you can see crystal clear blue water, and it's gorgeous. Sight to behold. You wouldn't think that we've corruption across this planet. By looking at it, I don't seem fine. But just, those first couple of minutes of the little baby walking into the ocean and some of this in the line.
Oh, God. That is so beautiful. Real briefly. To make room for my additional Maui scenes, because as we mentioned, this movie hits about the critical mass for length that you want for a movie like this, the crab goes. And we're all better off.
Let's talk about this. You need to lose the crab. There needed to be another obstacle for them to come across. They say it right in the movie. First we get my hook, then we go with tech, then we go kill the crab.
Okay, let me rephrase. When I say lose the crab, I don't mean lose the sequence necessarily, because you can still do the action sequence of they go to the realm of monsters and reclaim the fishhook. I'm okay with that. I agree. It needs that. We don't need a 3-minute musical number. Okay? We really don't.
Oh, it was like somebody sat down and was like, well, reviewers might hate the line, video game boss monster in this scene. Let's give him a personality. Ooh, let's give him a voice actor. Let's give him a song. And it just goes on and on and on, to the point where all you needed to do was create a sufficient for the two of them to. And,
look, the crab monster never speaks. He shows up. He chases Moana. We engage in, physical conflict with said crab monster, and it's over in half the time. And then we can, actually get a little bit more character study without appreciably lengthening the movie.
I mean, you keep the length of the action stuff, I think. Just don't have stupid dialogue in the song. I think everything else you could have gotten the point across that the crab like shiny things. That very much seemed like they were looking at the runtime and what they had there, like, oh, let's give hey, remember when we gave Olaf a song? Let's give it. Maybe it was a studio note, because it's hard for me to imagine that so much of the
does
movie
feel like a studio note as far as that goes. Because there's a similar scene in Kubo and the Two Strings where they have to reclaim a mystical sword that is being guarded by a monster, and they managed to do so without a stupid musical number.
I have that they didn't initially have a song and dance number. And the studio sort of looked at it and was like, there's no comedy song. You've got the girl song. We don't even have a traditional villain. You need a villain song. We need a poor unfortunate souls here. And we got the Crab Louse.
We got It's Shiny.
Lords of Acid.
Look, that whole sequence is your tribute to stoners. That's what you're doing. You are appealing to the pothead audience with that sequence.
That's actually a great way to transition into my one and only criticism of this movie. And it's not a criticism as such, but I'll just go ahead and say it. They're okay. Some of them, I didn't find them on first viewing to be. Now you might just, as you vary. That might just be a personal thing. It's one thing. The songs, craft-wise, as I would say, not incompetently performed. The music is competent. It is professional. It is fine. It is adequate. It's not where that was the best part of the movie. Okay? Because it sure as shit wasn't the plot. Has amazing music. People of Frozen is basically a 2-hour-long music video. And they're not wrong. Go to this day. What it's about and what it represents and everything still makes me emotional. Do you want to build a snowman, especially as it gets sadder? And the girl realizing that no, she does not land with you because everything is crap. This sort of healing pop are fine. They represented the movie well. They added to the movie sufficiently well. Still not as good as this movie is superior in every single way to everything that has come out at Renaissance, except for the music. The music to me, just there.
I agree with you with two exceptions, and I posted this on Facebook. I'm going to say it again here. First of all, you're welcome from The Rock is, again, not a great song in the pantheon of Disney great Disney songs. Probably doesn't rank. It has two things going for it. One, it is supremely catchy. Again, it's still kind of, I've got the little melody still in my head.
But is that not
hang on.
To, and not necessarily...
I think I missed the last part of your question there.
Okay. All right, let me rephrase. Even though you didn't hear me the first time, I'll rephrase anyway. I feel it's funny and entertaining and memorable. That another same lyric, not nearly as memorable.
That's fair. That's entirely possible. But the other thing I like about that song, the other thing I like about that song is that within the context of the story, it fits as the giant misdirection. Which I really like the fact that, he's singing and he's going on, and about the time that she's really falling for it, if you're paying attention as an audience member, you start to realize, wait a minute, something's up here. And then he drops the whammy. I love the structure of that song as it pertains to the overall film. And honestly, I think the best song from this whole movie is How Far I'll Go. It's Moana's princess song. It's probably the best, how do I phrase this? The best, adventuring, Bring Me That Horizon type song that Disney's done.
Yeah, I would have a tough time finding a comparable song. But here's the thing,
only
as
comparable
we're talking
song
about
actually isn't Disney. It's I saw someone who posted this and I agreed with it after I looked it up. There's a song from Anastasia, which I can't remember the name, and I haven't seen the movie in entirely too many years, and I wasn't terribly impressed anyway. But there's one song from that movie that I think is comparable as far as that goes, and I think this one's better.
I'm just sitting here thinking about memorable music. And again, this might be a personal thing. I haven't really wrestled with it long enough to don't know whether or not I'm separating my own feelings from it. But if you were to say, name 5 memorable, Let It Go, Poor Unfortunate Souls, anything from the Genie.
Genie. And pretty much anything from Beauty and the Beast. Any of the big 3 from that song, from that movie.
Yeah. I just can't, even though it's a douchey song, it's still really catchy.
Yes, it is.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boop. At least I can't get that one out of my head half the time. I just maybe it's because of multiple viewings. Maybe it's because these are known classics. Anything is an instant classic to me. Again, that's not saying they're bad. Far from it. Absolutely listenable soundtrack. None of it to me screamed run out and buy. Now I talked about that with a few people on Facebook, and the response I got was, "You might feel differently." I saw Frozen at mid-boat, at a cruise, and I instantly fell in love with Let It Go. I mean, I'm a music person. I'm as passionate about music as I am about film, and what I like. I know what's going to stick with me. Give an example. Remember everything about All Nightmare Long, Death Magnetic, which came out. That has years. And I don't remember the last time I actually listened to Death Magnet. So like I said,
there
are songs that even with will absolutely my the little earworms will wrap themselves around my brain and I can't get it out of my head. I mean, like I walked out of the movie and forgot the music. So that would be the only thing I would say column for Moana. Although everywhere else, none of that really matters. It's just sort of an observation I made.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you. However, it should be noted that as two white males over the age of 30, I'm pretty sure the music is not necessarily aimed at us.
It said, I wasn't much younger than I am right now. Fell in love with left.
And this is not about individual enjoyment of the music. This is just about how does something become a classic? How does it stick with a large group of people? You and I may not be the greatest barometer as far as what winds up with sticking power out of this movie, assuming anything does at all.
Hey, I'm not going to argue that. I really don't know. But, as we're talking...
I will say I'll be surprised if, we're really talking... If we revisit this discussion years from now with, another animated movie and go, I mean, the music was okay. It wasn't as good as anything in Moana, but...
It was on Moana good. Oh, Jesus. I was trying to look up the second Renaissance here. I can't seem to find a list. But 2008 to present.
Hang on.
Yeah. Well,
I will find it for you. Don't worry.
Well, I've got the Wikipedia up. It just doesn't have it on the list.
You just have to know where to draw the line.
2008 to present is referred to as the Disney Revival era. 2000 to 2007 is called, the 85 to 97, here we go. 89 to 99 is referred to as the Renaissance. We are in the Revival era.
Now, the Renaissance starts with Little Mermaid and then peaks with, what's it peak with? I will remember this. Hang on.
Pocahontas. Again, Pocahontas probably.
It peaks with the Lion King.
Pocahontas
is a step down from the Lion King.
Okay, I guess. Well, depends on how you're defining that, because I think Pocahontas made money.
Yeah, but nobody really remembers it. The Lion King made money, was a critical success. Pocahontas, Hunchback, Hercules, Mulan, Tarzan. I mean, you see the downward trend. Not that they're necessarily bad movies, but we have clearly peaked and are in the midst of the trough.
All right, so I'm going to say it starts with The Princess and the Frog, which had great music in it, especially have a soft spot for New Orleans. You have Tangled, which has great music.
It's either Princess or Tangled, depending on one's perspective. From a quality standpoint, it's probably Princess and the Frog. From a commercial standpoint, it's Tangled, and it's not all that close.
The one about living your dreams in Tangled, I think, is hilarious. So you're trying to make an argument for remembering it, and I can't remember it. But I know it.
Way down deep inside, you've got a dream, Mark. Great.
I've Got a Dream, which is awesome.
And
even the
Brad Garrett, of all people.
The villain song is amazing in that movie. Listen to Mother, or whatever the hell it's called.
Haven't seen it in entirely too long.
All right, skipping over Winnie the Pooh. Then we have Wreck-It Ralph, which has no music. And we've got Frozen, talked about at length now. We've got Big Hero, a Marvel adaptation, and no music. We've got Zootopia, Maze Ball,
one song,
and had no music.
Zootopia had one song. That was it.
Did that one song? Got the Shakira song. I'm not counting that.
Nor should you, but for the record, there was one vocalized song that played over the movie.
So, to finish up this discussion of music in the revival era, you really only got 4 to compare. And that's The Princess and the Frog, Tangled, Frozen, and now Moana. And Frozen leads them all by a country mile. And like I said, of that list, I would actually go Frozen, Tangled, Princess and the Frog, Moana. That's just me.
I'm not sure how I'd rate them. There's a few of those that I just haven't heard in entirely too long, and clearly didn't stick with me on an emotional level enough to remember them. So,
certainly fair. All right. Anything else to say about this movie? If not, I think it's time.
Let me think. Is there anything else? I would like to thank the producers and the filmmakers of this movie for taking Clucky off of the hands of the combat sports community for the duration of the filming of this project. We are all very grateful. We wish you would have kept him.
Moana featuring.
I wanted that. I mean, look, I know that Alan Tudyk actually does the vocals of Hey Hey, but I really wanted and introducing Clucky as Hey Hey, because if you've ever heard Mark or any of us go on about Clucky, the combat sports chicken judge who can't get the score right to save his life, look at that chicken,
whatever the score
and you will know.
29-28. It's 29-28.
I need GIFs of that chicken. That's what I'm going to wind up using for Clucky for a while. And anytime I want him to go away, I'm going to put a half empty coconut on his head.
Boat snack.
He couldn't even fatten up properly.
Actually, something that does bear mentioning. Let me lay it out this way. So there's a boat chase scene where the little pygmy coconut.
Oh, I love that scene, in large part because it's an homage to probably the greatest action movie of the last 20 years.
And so, if you've seen Mad Max Fury Road, you know what the sort of pan across of all the cars coming towards you on screen look like. They did an homage to that in the movie. Now, I didn't know about this. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not a 12-year-old girl. I don't Snapchat. I don't Instagram.
I don't Instagram either. I follow The Rock on Twitter, and whenever he does something interesting, he will link it through there as well. And the intro to that led me to kind of go, okay, wait, I'm curious now as to what this is. I do not have an Instagram account.
And I'm watching it. And I myself as I'm like, oh, that looks funny. That looks kind of familiar. And my wife, she goes, hey, that looks like Fury Road. And I'm like, oh, nice perception. Good job. And I tell Winfrey about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, there's this whole Fury Road. But he's like, yeah, I know. The Rock put it on Instagram. I'm like, God damn it. Anyway.
I am one no-selling son of a gun. That's what I do.
There's a lot of that in this movie. Frozen and the Olaf character and some of the other stuff in Disney. Like I said, it almost approaches meta, not quite, and it certainly doesn't do it in a stupid way. But the movie, there's a lot of self-aware comedy in this movie. Like The Rock. He handles it very, very well. He has a lot of good one-liners.
Nobody does self-aware comedy like The Rock.
Just little things like these are the things that were memorable to me, like grabbing the rooster and yelling "boat snack," things like that. It was all very funny. There were a lot of funny visuals. His interactions with Moana early on are very Daffy Duck Bugs funny. Or him throwing her off the boat.
There's the old school Looney Tunes. Yeah, she tries to dive onto the boat and belly flops just behind it, and he kind of just laughs.
Yeah. they did not treat her like a fragile Fabergé egg. She takes bumps and bruises. Even so, and you are Maui and you will get on my boat. Oh, they had some fun with that. Oh, what fun they had. And it was great to see her sort of struggle with that whole thing. But I think we have talked this movie to death.
Go see this movie. Good. You can thank us later.
Yep. However many stars, I gave it almost the maximum amount of stars on Rotten. In my opinion, by far, one of the best, if not the best, Disney princess movies since, there's almost nothing wrong with it.
Second best animated movie of the year.
Even better than Zootopia.
Yes.
Believe that. But that said,
second best animated movie of the year. Nothing's topped Kubo yet.
No, goodness gracious. All right.
Seriously.
So with all that said, folks.
Tremendous movie.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar.
All right. I honestly thought you were going to stop talking. Sorry.
Don't worry about it. I was just going to put over Kubo again because it's again, best animated movie of the year.
It's got a budget of $150. I have not seen it yet. The thing's got a budget of $150 million, needs $300 million to break even, and start to be profitable. It's currently at $101 million. It's going to be fun. It smashed all kinds of records its opening weekend. I think comparatively on Box Office Mojo, the 6-day total, it's already beaten Frozen by a large country mile. Holy shit.
Frozen Frozen stuck around, and Frozen grew over time, and then beat out things from week to week more so than had a smash opening. And never, just look, don't underestimate the promotional juggernaut that is Dwayne Johnson. That man promotes the crap out of everything he does. He should really be paid more just because of the promotional material he's going to put out of his own volition.
Total for Moana is 6-day total for Frozen, $15 million. So yeah, certainly supports what you're saying there. 5-day total for Dwayne. Still not quite as good as Iron Man, though it did beat it in another category. 5-day total for Iron Man. As a point of fact, the 84-day total for Dawn of Justice is $330 million. The 84-day total for Suicide Squad, $324. Almost catching, almost at each other there, almost even. Anyway.
If only they both were better movies.
Moana scores about 81. Largest 5-day Thanksgiving opening of all time. Third largest 3-day Thanksgiving opening.
By a fair margin, this thing smashed the record for largest opening over Thanksgiving.
The top 12 that grossed a combined $173 million. Oof. Moana was, however, the only real success story among the Allied and Bad Santa 2 fell short of expectations. And rules don't apply. The space playing.
It's a biographical drama comedy starring Warren Beatty about what's his face, crazy guy, Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes. Must have Hugh Hefner. I'm like, that's not right. Delivered the worst opening of 2016. At the top, the Moana delivered an estimated $55.5 million 3-day opening and an estimated $81.1 million 5-day opening. Already compared it to Frozen. Moana's 3-day weekend is also the third largest opening for Disney Animation Studios, behind only Zootopia and Big Hero, which opened on a Friday and showed Moana's 3-day gross in 700. It would surpass Big Hero 6. So wondering, well, who the hell sold Moana's demographic breakdown was 45% versus 55% female, 12 years or under, the age of 25, and 72% of the audience made up of families. Once again, a big shock. No, it wasn't. This weekend coming up, Spain, the UK, Russia, and Mexico, along with Belgium, Hungary, Slovakia, Iceland, South Africa, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, India, Paraguay. And how did it compare to its competition? Well, clearly it was number one.
Smoked their bacon.
Well, no, I lied. According to the chart here, we are looking at November 18th through the 24th, and this thing, well, okay, so we didn't, looking at the calendar here, 24th, so that starts if Friday, it ends one day after Moana came out. So this isn't the best judge of the weekend box office, but I'm going to read this anyway. Fantastic Beasts was actually, Moana came in at number 4, but it didn't have the whole weekend to. Box Office Mojo has not updated this. That's what we got so far, but I'm sure once the full weekend is.
It did. Moana won pretty handily. Yeah. I remember seeing that. Where did I see that? No, I saw that it won. It won big. The thing's made over $100 million already. It's huge.
Yeah. Basically, it's currently sitting at 29 with 84 million between Miss Peregrine's Home for Mutants and The Accountant. Worldwide, it's I think at like number 69. Yeah, it's 61 rather, between Neighbors 2 and The Little Prince. It's obviously by the end of the year going to, be somewhere. Currently, as they have since the summer, owns the plots. Captain America, in that order. Doctor Strange has finally bumped up of the top 10. 5 Disney movie in the top 10. The Secret Life of Pets, Batman v Superman, Deadpool, Suicide Squad, and Sony's foreign Chinese film, The Mermaid. As we've said before, expect Moana and Rogue One to enter into the top 10, giving Disney 7 out of 10 spots for the year.
The only real question there is going to be whether or not Rogue One will cross the, $700 million mark prior to the flipping of the calendar. I mean, people are still going to see it into 17, and it's still going to count for 16's receipts as far as that goes because it was released in 16. But I'll just say this. Don't be shocked if the movie doesn't quite crack the top 10 before January 1st, 2017.
And for you Harry Potter fans, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them currently sits number 13 for the year worldwide at $476 million between Warcraft and Kung Fu Panda 3. Yes, an animated movie from Fox that came out in January, movie worldwide.
It's been a rough year, folks. That's all I can say.
So we said it needed to be $36 million, $360 million. It did. We're at 476. So yay for Warner Brothers. At least you get that franchise right.
So far, at least.
Before we get into the Rotten Tomato thing, and there's not many of them. There's only 3 rotten reviews because there's always got to be some douchebag out there.
There is some jackass who gave Toy Story 3 a negative review. Just if you want to know the quality of humanity and how far we have sunk as a species back towards the primordial pond scum, There's your indicator.
I want to quick just address the cultural appropriation. Look, I understand there are no green people out there, but as you may or may not know, the Hulk is green. And when you make a Hulk costume, I don't know if people know this or not, but it's a green, muscly bodysuit with purple shorts. Why? Because the Hulk is green with purple shorts. And if you've been to Disney over the last couple of years, you will see many a white boy running around in green skin and purple shorts. Oh, and by the way, there are plenty of adults with them manly workout bodies running around with no shirt on and no shoes on, wearing purple shorts, and they painted themselves green. That's not even a lie. There have been a handful of people who dressed up as the Hulk that showed up for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party in nothing but their purple bathing suit and painted green. I say, well, there's no culture to appropriate there. He's a fictional character. But I still think the point remains the same. Maui's costume, as it were, is he's half naked, wearing a grass skirt, covered in tattoos. If you're trying to dress up as him, that's what you would do. I don't think it's cultural appropriation or blackface, as it were, can we just look at context for a moment? What fucking child blackfaces on purpose? Because that's really, they're calling it cultural appropriation, but that's really what they're saying. That to dress as Maui is to do blackface. And again, I don't know what you want kids who want to be that character to do. Why not actually praise the fact that they created a fairly accurate representation of a Polynesian man, build it all.
No. Now you're going to angry up the
I know
the liberals. How dare you make you made Polynesians look fat.
That is another controversy that came out of this.
I'm going to yell about that one. You yell about this one. I'll yell about
the fat shaming. Sure.
Yeah, I'll yell about that one.
So you have, an accurate portrayal, and I'll let you handle the yelling about it, of a Polynesian man, to the point where even in Pulp Fiction, and I'm just going to quote it here, let's not take it out of context and say, you racist, but fucking Samuel L. Jackson, what's a nigga going to do? He's Samoan. Samoans are Polynesian, just to make sure we're all on the same page here. So, again, you have white children far and wide looking at this guy thinking he's cool. I want a fish hook and tattoos just like him and run around in a grass skirt and call myself Maui. I got news for you, folks. I don't know how else you would get, young white middle-class children to engage in learning of Polynesian culture other than this way. Why not, embrace it instead of pissing on Disney's shoes and whining and complaining that, quote-unquote, brown skin, not a costume. Yes, it is.
Well, hang on. If I might agree with your point very briefly. Brown skin is not a costume. A brown bodysuit with tattoos and a grass skirt and a funky wig, clearly representing a mythological character now immortalized in popular culture, yeah, that is a costume. Here's a fun question for you. Unless you people were also screaming about Hercules, because really, if you want to get into cultural appropriation, have a look at Hercules in the Disney movie, and then find me a Greek guy who looks like their version of Hercules.
You mean the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant version of Hercules?
Not just that, he's a ginger. I guarantee you're in for a long look, all right? If you want to complain about cultural appropriation, that's your movie.
I mean, how many Greek men have people come across that look like Hercules? I mean, pale and redheaded. Not too many Greeks that I grew up with.
With the square jaw. the square jaw and the blue eyes. And no, he is very clearly, again, the waspy interpretation of Hercules.
This is one of the, I'm going to end by saying this. I think I've made myself abundantly clear that I think this is horseshit, and that the people doing this, you know, you want to know what, not to be political, and I swear to God I'm going to cut this short, why morons voted for Trump out there? Because of the people complaining about cultural appropriation in Moana. This ever-growing feeling that nothing you do is right, and that some asshole from academia probably is going to start screaming and yelling at you that what you're doing is wrong and everything about you is wrong, 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 wrong. Well, you know what? After a while, people react, and they react badly. Our strongman is feeding them whatever horseshit he needs to get them to believe in him. Yes, a bit of a leap from Moana to Trump, but the facts remain the same. That when you have a very vocal minority telling the majority that everything about them and everything they believe and everything that they think is wrong, you people will react harshly. This is a very small example of that. This isn't cultural appropriation. It's not racism. It's a fucking costume based on what a character looks like in a movie. They didn't go out of their way to make the costume like, you know, it's not like it's not like a fat suit or anything, you know. The kid modeling it actually looked Polynesian. They went out of their way to find kid models to look like the characters as best they could. So it's not like even the model of the costume is this, you know, white kid from the San Fernando Valley somewhere. This is the sort of shit that's pissing people off and making them do crazy things like vote for a nincompoop like Donald Trump. So you had yourselves to blame, liberals. You have yourselves to blame. The fuck now.
That's all right. I'll climb onto mine for a very brief moment. All right. Here's and again, I'm going to yell at reviewers in a moment, but the big controversy pertaining to Moana that I was aware of was the notion that it was offensive to make early images of Maui reinforce the negative stereotype that Polynesians are fat. And I wanted to throw something. There's two reasons I wanted to throw something. One deals with the hypocrisy of that position. And here's why. Just real briefly. Because these same asshats that are crying about it perpetuates the stereotype. Not all Polynesians are fat. Those same asshats. If you had gone the other way, let's go to this alternate reality where Maui as a character actually looks like The Rock instead of what he looks like in the movie. Let's swap universes to that one. Same asshats are going to find enough lube to remove their head from their own anal orifice just long enough to say, you've created an unrealistic expectation for Polynesian boys everywhere. Shame on you. You people are just never happy. You're a bunch of miserable, whiny, sycophant jackasses. Crying about things that don't pertain to you. Your pseudo crusade for moral justice it's sickening. Shut up. And the second reason I wanted to flip a table was, for all the preachiness that you people, and this is generally the same group, have about you shouldn't, fat shame. You should accept people as they are. Well, here's a movie that does a relatively fair representation of the Pacific Islanders. If we're generalizing, most people of Pacific Island descent they're thick through the legs and torso. There's a reason that conception exists. It happens to be accurate 95% of the time. You ever see Mark Hunt? All of you people out there, look up Mark Hunt.
Or look up Haku.
Or yeah, Haku. I mean, there's all the. For those of you who don't know, I live in Utah, and we actually do have a fairly substantial population of various islanders. Excuse me. So I actually did kind of learn the difference between a Samoan and a Tongan when I was in junior high school. Because don't call one the other. Just a bad idea.
Kind of like Jamaicans and Haitians. They don't like each other. Don't confuse them.
Oh, they don't dislike each other necessarily. And again, some of this is generalized. It's not that they dislike each other. It's that, no, I'm not. I mean, Mark, and this is something that if I were to contextualize it a little bit, if everyone kind of came up to you who was of a different race and said, oh, so you're from Mayberry. Just because you're white. I mean, and that's just kind of the impression I got was, no, don't be an idiot. Not all black people are from Harlem. Not all islanders are from Samoa. Okay?
That actually happened to me once.
What was that?
That actually did happen. No, true story. That kind of happened to me when I was in England once, where I had somebody from England said to me, I've always wanted to go to America. I've seen your schools on TV, like that show Saved by the Bell. I've always wanted to go to a school like that. Wait, what? You are assuming that because I'm from America, the school I go to is, the high school I went to, rather, is like the one from Saved by the Bell? Yes, sir. That is what I believe.
Yeah. Look, cultural ignorance is a bad thing. Cultural literacy, exploration, intelligence, a good thing. And mine was expanded again when I was in junior high and just needed to learn a little something about that. And so here we have a representation that is generally fair, and here's the other thing. It's not insulting. Maui's not fat. Moana's father, also not fat. They're thick. Which, and again, let me bring this up, and let me say this very clearly, is a generally accurate representation. All they have done here is celebrate a culture. But no, you're now fat shaming. And if you weren't fat shaming, if they had gone the other direction, you'd be whining about unrealistic expectations. You would actually complain that Maui looks nothing like the average islander.
Yeah. They would have been complaining that they Americanized.
You're never happy. Shut up.
What drives me crazy about this, and then we'll move on. I promise people who are just like, "What a fucking political podcast." I don't want to listen to this, but it needs to be said. It needs to
certainly
be
in this instance.
I mean, Disney went out of its way. They sent the people working on the film to the Polynesian islands. They had people who were experts in Polynesian history and culture. I mean, do you know how much research went into this movie before they even started to develop a script? Look, you want to complain about...
because I did research on the movie.
You want to complain about the movie, about Disney. Fine, there are things to complain about. Now I don't know how accurate this still is. This book is from years ago. But I remember a book being written about the horrors of Disney behind the scenes of, perverts working in the parks and looking in on like other cast members, dressing rooms and things like that, or them having like quality measures or what you call it? I can't remember the term now. But they had to get X amount of people on a ride and off a ride per hour to the point where it was injuring people. Things like that. There are plenty of them firing people en masse and forcing X amount of work more than they should on the remaining people. That things like that. There's
any multi-billion company has those, and Disney has them as well. So why are you making stuff up here, people? I say this about movies frequently. There's plenty to criticize here. I yelled about this ad nauseum with Dawn of Justice. There's plenty here to criticize kindly don't make stuff up.
Yeah. I think that's all that needs to be said about this, and a nice way to sum it up. So, your turn to hit the button, buddy. Are you ready?
No, hang on. It's located in this really odd spot. There it is. Play.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
There are. This guy certified fresh rating. 3 douchebags. Read all 3.
All right. Point me at him.
Read this thing. Kirk Baird Blade. As an animated film, Moana is best. Postcard on the big screen, the animation couldn't be or inviting.
Really? Were you? Did you? Can you not hear? I mean, I assume this is a deaf person, unable to actually process dialogue or the spoken language, who is reduced to commenting purely on the animation. Because really, you could not possibly have been more wrong. Well, this is willful. This has to be deliberate. This is pay attention to me. I cannot possibly understand how you viewed the same material that I did under the same circumstances and reached a conclusion that wrong. I accept disagreement that 2 people can view the same material and come to somewhat different conclusions. That's fair and rational. That's not. You must have flipped a coin.
I don't understand how this person could even compare it to the last couple of. Like, it was like, oh, it's not the best Disney film because, like, Zootopia was the best. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to cry about that. Let's just compare it to a couple of musicals.
We can argue that,
here.
But really?
Let's just compare it to the last couple of musicals as we were doing before. So, Moana, whose plot was very straightforward, and there really weren't any holes in it, compared to Frozen, whose plot still doesn't make any sense. It's that was the plot of Frozen.
There is no plot to
Tangled.
Frozen. Frozen is a giant setup from song to song. It's a very bad off-Broadway musical from a structural standpoint.
And, Tangled was pretty straightforward. It was, Mom doesn't want me to leave my room, so I run away, and Mom tries to get her back.
I'm going to run away with this stranger who came in through my window, and things are going to work out for me.
Because she's got a dream. I mean, look, plot enough, but not better than Moana. In our hero, Rapunzel, Moana. Actually, not leave the home to be. Let's have Princess and the Frog. I mean, I like the Tiana. Tiana's pretty strong. She's very close. The music again for the New Orleans. Then fine. I certainly, your mileage may vary, as you said. So,
Mark, your Cajun accent is better than what Channing Tatum's would have been.
Why, thank you. So let's compare it to the Gold. There's almost no comparison.
Look, when you there are a few Disney movies that are better than this. A lot of the others that you're going to well, hang on. There are a few that are better than this, but a lot of the argument you're going to run into is people claiming, well, it's a classic without being able to substantiate the argument. And that seems like what this gentleman's doing. I'm going to spout stuff, and I'm not going to support it because it's the internet. Never mind that it's your f***ing job.
I mean, I ran Princess. She's the strongest.
Yeah. Pretty much unequivocally.
Personality, in
character development, character arc, action taken.
I've talked about a lot of this show and Long Road to Ruin. I remember talking about like the original Cinderella, which is a monumental movie and people love it. There's no plot to that thing.
No, I actually wound up rewatching that entire movie while donating plasma a couple of weeks ago. And I was shocked upon rewatching it that, and for those of you who haven't seen it in a while or at all, some 50% of that movie is the mice dicking around.
It's the mice. You took the mice out of Cinderella.
Oh, you don't even need a commercial break.
Bring me my breakfast. They rip her clothing off. Bibbidi Bob in love with the prince. Here's your shoe. We're done. The movie. So again, the best part of that movie is Ellen. The movie is nothing without Ursula and the King. But again, your star is such a douche nozzle. It's sort of.
Yeah. All right. We've given this individual too much time. Next.
Mark Dudstick of Mark Reviews Movies. And
You should appropriate that domain.
Moana looks lovely. Really haven't rounded though by too much. That's all too familiar.
Did we not go on for
We've
about
talked
40
about
minutes about how this movie broke convention? I mean, this jackass is probably the same type of guy who said, well, Doctor Strange is just an Iron Man remake, and The Secret Life of Pets is a beat-for-beat remake of Toy Story.
Probably.
You're the type of moron who knows just enough to get you into trouble.
We were talking earlier about how I think it frustrates me even more that this jackass got himself credentialed and on Rotten Tomatoes. But, I'm still trying to figure the whole price for movie tickets. It ain't bad, I tell you.
No, it really is. We need to look into that because you and I mean, look, we're not the best, but we're better than about half of these jackasses.
Stephen Gurdanis at I can't read it tonight. It's far to say that Moana combines every Disney with everything I dislike. Both. I would love to know what he dislikes. That would be an interesting read.
Do you dislike movies that make sense? Maybe movies with character. Maybe you dislike movies with The Rock. I'm not sure I agree with maybe Michael Bay is just your paragon of movie making. Alternatively, maybe Tarantino is, and you hate this movie because the dialogue is accessible to children and not just cinemaphiles.
All right, I think we're done here.
In summation, sir, find a bridge, not very high. I don't want you to die. I want you to suffer. So about 10 feet-ish, and kindly fall off of it, preferably landing on your feet so that you can shatter an ankle, and I can feel better. And you will maybe learn something.
All right, we are not doing a show for the next week. Nothing of value comes out this Friday. Nothing of value. However, Netflix, we'll be dropping Fuller 2, which in theory we'll be reviewing myself and Pat on a show I like to now dub called TV Party Tonight. All of our shows. But anything that we review from Netflix.
So all of our television series will now be done under that auspice. All right, good to know.
That's right. Yes. I just came up with that. Thank you, Black Flag. However, we're not reviewing anything. The following week, we are not doing any. Theoretically, we will be reviewing Fuller House season at Rogue One comes out on December. Ticket for it. We will be reviewing that on the 20th. 22nd, reviewing that. 7th, and we'll be joined by Sean Comer. Just a quick, I'm going to give it over to Robert to do his plugs. They're personal, and I don't want to talk about it, but we are experiencing some difficulties here at the old Rattleage and Broadcasting Network. So after Assassin's Creed, Damn You Hollywood will be taking a hiatus until March. We're not doing any movie reviews.
Weren't we going to do the year-end review? Should still be on, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. And then Damn You Hollywood, the year-end review on December 29th. I apologize.
Okay.
Yes, that's still happening.
Wanted to be sure.
Both Damn You Hollywood and Tell The Long Road to Ruin The Long Road to Ruin for sure, and going into I don't know when or going to come back. But Hollywood will be off. We will not do that anymore. Very reviews. Lego Batman. I just may not be saying it over the weekend. Reviews in the month of February. We will pick back up in March with Logan being on March 7th. We'll do Skull Island on March 14th, and then Beauty and the Beast on March 20th. And then we'll be off again for a few weeks until Fast and the Furious 8 comes out. But if you want to message me privately on Facebook, email me at mrattledge@gmail.com. In the meantime, Metal Hammer is going on hiatus. Doing at this point that isn't taking. To which I say thank you. So that we're just going to take a week off at the beginning of January. Up again on January 11th with respective B-sides and covers. After that, Sepultura Machine. My band in high school called Anvil, and we spelled it A-N-Q-V. I yelled Iki. Anyway, the drummer in my band from high school has a new, and it's called If He Dies. They haven't released the waves. We'll be reviewing that on the Metal Hammer of Doom the same week as Robert Cooper and I will be on Legendary Defender season. We'll be reviewing the new Creator album, Gods of Violence. That's it for now. The rest of the calendar are relatively the same. Really until you change it all. We've got tomorrow the second half of Hardwired to Self-Destruct. The Potter series on Thursday with the Deathly Hollows. We're supposed to review the new Helmet, so I'm not doing it. Instead, we're going to review Oakley Dokley.
Yes.
The band is Oakley Dokley. It's called Hallelujah. It's available on Spotify. It's hilarious. I can't wait to talk about it. So Metal Hammer of Doom will be reviewing Oakley Dokley. 7th. Assuming I have access, we're supposed Long Road to Ruin. We'll have a special guest here, formerly of the Casual here. Will be the Netto trilogy. Metal Hammer of Doom will be reviewing the new Superjoint, Caught in the Gears of Application. And finally, Rogue One will be Metal Hammer of Doom will be Christmas review. I'm leaning towards Twisted Christmas. Metal Christmas songs. I know what we're going to do. We're calling it. We wish you a metal Christmas. The Metal Hammer of Doom year-end for 28th of December. So,
all right. Yeah, sorry. My plugs are pretty simple. This coming Saturday, I will be providing live coverage for the Ultimate Fighter Season 24 finale. Come watch Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson try to defend his flyweight title against Tim Elliott. Sorry if I spoiled the outcome of that show. You should feel bad that you didn't know. Also, Joseph Benavidez and Henry Cejudo are going to fight. And that's basically it. There's other fights, and I'll be covering them, but that's basically it. This Sunday on the 411 Ground and Pound radio show, we will be reviewing The Ultimate Fighter Season 24's finale. We will also be previewing UFC Fight Night 102. Let me make sure I have this correct. Should be UFC Fight Night 102. Yeah, Lewis versus Abdurakhimov. This card is awful. The top two fights are mid-level heavyweights. I want to die. We will also be previewing UFC 206, which is the day after that Fight Night card. Holloway versus Pettis. This card lost its main event this week. There was a snafu with the featherweight title that just made me want to throw stuff because how do you handle things this badly? And now we have 206 with Max Holloway versus Anthony Pettis for the interim featherweight championship. For those of you going, but there's already an interim featherweight champion. I know. And I have no response other than the UFC desperately believes that adding yet another fake belt to this might salvage a buy rate. It won't. It's not the worst card in the world. There's 3 decent fights. But we'll be previewing that. And yeah, that's it. Unless some other major news breaks. Sorry, what was that? I think I lost you, Mark. You there?
Yeah, I know. I said you sound so sad.
That whole situation with stripping McGregor of the belt. I'm okay with them taking the featherweight belt off of McGregor. He's never going to fight at featherweight anyway. But really, to do it now in a desperate bid to save a doomed card, it's just sad. And I like that main event. I like Holloway versus Pettis. I really do. It should be a really good fight.
Okay. I'm hitting the music. We done?
Yeah, we're done.
All right, folks. We will see you for our review of Rogue One in a few weeks. Until then, be well, be safe, and behave.